Yesterday we talked to Bob Wenz. We've decided since then we're just going to run these day by day until we're done. He's the author of Navigating Your Perfect Storm, a wonderful book that I really encourage you to read. I try to read every book. In fact, I do read every book written by anyone I interview, at least the book that relates to the interview. And I was gripped by Bob Wenz's marvelous journey through Jesus' last prayer and discussion with his disciples. Bob, welcome back. Yesterday we talked about, your spiritual journey. You gave me a little bit of insight into your upbringing with very stern parents, 1 hour in your entire life spent alone with your father, the impact that had on your relationship with your Heavenly Father, and the impact your current journey has in terms of this incurable lung disease, and the fact you're living on borrowed time. And we started to reflect with you on things in the past. We mentioned your wife. You've been married for 35 years. What about marriage? What would you say to young couples who are maybe getting married this weekend or next month? They're just about to start their journey. You've been married for 35 years and now you're dying. Straight from the shoulder, what counsel do you give this young couple?
That's interesting because I know that, I've probably done somewhere between 150 and 200 weddings, and I do premarital counseling as a part of that as a pastor. And for a number of years, one of the things that I always brought up with couples surprised them. And somewhere in the process of the discussions, I would say, one of the two of you, in all likelihood, is going to have to bury the other one. And they look at each other like that was some type of revelation.
They hadn't considered the fact that they were going to get old and die.
Right. So very focused on the moment. And it is a reality. So it's a reality that's always been in my mind. The question is, in my mind, and I think in Sue Ellen's mind, which is harder? Leaving or being left behind?
Right.
Those are hard questions. And what's difficult for me, among other things, I'm not suffering. No. This is a disease I have that does not cause me pain. Sitting here right now, I don't even know I'm sick.
Right.
But recognizing that I would rather be the one left behind than I think about the pain I'm going to leave my family being gone and what that means to them. I spent some time recently with a friend of mine who lost his wife about a year ago. And I asked him how he was doing, and he said, I'm doing much better now. He said, but I spent 6 months crying myself to sleep. Yeah. And that hurts thinking about. Yeah. That's the hard part in terms of
leaving your wife behind.
Yeah.
With the sorrow and the bereavement.
Yeah, to deal with that.
Yeah. Now, I know your wife will be watching this interview at some point, and I don't want to embarrass her or embarrass you, but to the extent that you can be frank with me, any regrets in terms of your marriage? And if so,
none.
No regrets?
No.
Did you learn marriage from watching your parents?
No.
So how did you learn to be married well?
I don't know. I desired earnestly to have a good relationship. Sue Ellen and I really haven't had a fight in 35 years.
Right.
And that surprises some people. They would say, well, you're not really being honest with each other. Neither of us care for conflict. So we have learned how to deal with issues without becoming angry. We can talk through what we need to talk through and put the other person first. It's a relationship about giving rather than getting. My great joy is giving and doing and pleasing my wife. She returns that in spades. She's a remarkable woman.
I often tell guys the most important thing your wife needs to know is that she's the center of your universe.
Absolutely the center of my universe.
And if she knows that, everything else seems to kind of fall into place. What about sex? How important is sex in marriage?
How important is sex in marriage? I think that varies on seasons, and I think it varies by people. Obviously, when you're 25 years old and the hormones are raging, I think it is disproportionately important.
Right.
Unfortunately, we live in a society that is extremely saturated sexually, that distorts a lot of that. It is important. Interestingly, we live in an age where even among Christians, the idea of the sanctity of marriage is breaking down terribly. The hooking up generation and the casual sex and the idea that we should try this out to see if it's going to be foundational for marriage. Secular studies have proven again and again that people who live together before marriage decrease their chances of ever growing old together. And I'm grateful. Sue Ellen and I have been married 35 years. We were the first for each other, and have never regretted that, and find that that has been a wonderful blessing to each other.